Hey robot makers, hope you're having a good day so far. So do you want to take a look into my mailbag and see, that sounds really wrong, and see what we'll be diving into, or what will be driving the next couple of projects? Then this is the show for you. So let's dive straight in. My name is Kevin. Come with me as we build robots, bring them to life with code, and have a whole load of fun along the way. Okay. I've got some slides, but we only need to sort of go through those halfway through, I guess. So yes, over on my desk over here, I've got a whole bunch of things. It's as if Santa has arrived early, and I thought I'd share some of these things with you. So the first one I want to sort of take a look at is this Raspberry Pi touch display. So let me go back to the main screen here. So I've actually had a touch display ever since they launched the other one 7 years ago. So if we just have a quick look at the original one, this one is in a case. I'm not sure where I bought this from, but it's got the great big Raspberry Pi thing on there, and you can sort of pull off the back, and you can see there's a Raspberry Pi. I think it's a Raspberry Pi 3 that's in there. Turn it the way around, you might be able to see that on there. Raspberry Pi 3. And it's quite thick, the back piece, because the Raspberry Pi is actually sat on another board, and the two of them don't make for a slim form factor. But it has been quite a great case, and yeah, you can see all the finger marks on this. This usually sits just behind me over there. But the case is designed for original Raspberry Pi 3 with a great big HDMI connector, the micro USB, and an audio jack. I've also got some things hanging off the back there. I think there's a Wi-Fi connector, and also like a wireless keyboard and mouse connector on there as well. So that's the original one. The new one is the exact same size, as in the screen size is the same, but it obviously won't fit in this case. So I'll be looking to get a new case for the next one. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what this is actually looking like inside. So you do get a little bag bits inside as well. Let's put that over there. So in here we have a couple of cables. There's a connector there for connecting it to the DSI, the display serial interface, and there's also another cable there. I guess that's for the camera, I think. A bunch of screws and a little power socket as well. So you can, that little wire there, you can see that's going to connect to the GPIO pins on the GPIO header on the Raspberry Pi, and that's what's actually going to power this. So it's not using any of the GPIO pins other than those for power. Let's get this out. It's still got its protective cover on there. I'm not going to peel that off until I actually put it in something, otherwise I'll just get fingerprints all over the show. But look how much thinner that one is immediately. So the Raspberry Pi will sort of sit on there. Have I got a Raspberry Pi to hand? I've got the Raspberry Pi, what's that? Well, the Raspberry Pi 3, ironically. So this display will work with any Raspberry Pi apart from the 0 line. So does anybody know why that would be? It's because it doesn't have, the Raspberry Pi Zeros don't have the display. They have the camera connector, but not the display connector. So that means they won't work with this. But every other Raspberry Pi will, even the very, very first ones. So that'll just screw into there. You can see it's still going to be quite chunky, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see what people do with that. There's a little connector on there. That's where the power will power the display. And then we plug that cable into the GPIO pins. I think the second and the third one are like a 5 volt and a ground. So that's where it's going to power the actual display from. And then the display serial interface, that's going to connect into there and then go into the connector, which I guess is that end one there. I think that's correct. Yes. And then that will drive the display. And of course it's touch sensitive as well. Now one of the interesting things when I was doing the launch video for this, the original one, you can see them side by side now, size wise, they're exactly the same size. But the original one has a 10 finger touch capability, whereas this one has a 5 finger touch capability. This one is a higher resolution. This is like a 720p display. This one I think is like 800 by 480, something like that. And it's basically not enough even to display some of the Raspberry Pi's own dialog boxes, which has always been a bit of a problem. The other interesting thing about this display is they market it as a portrait display. So you can see on the very bottom of the box there, it says portrait. So it's intended to be used kind of in that kind of orientation. And I think the reason for this is the keyboard will pop up quite neatly in that orientation, whereas if it's like that, you're taking up even more of the screen. So that orientation, the screen doesn't take, the keyboard doesn't take up as much space on the screen. I'm not sure if there's any other reason behind that, but yeah, that's what I understand from that particular screen. So that's the Display 2, Touch Display 2. Now, you might have noticed when I went to the Rome Maker Faire, Raspberry Pi had some other screens on display, and they haven't been launched yet. So on each of the Raspberry Pis that they had on display, there was this really nice looking, much larger display. I don't know if that's touch. I don't know if that's going to be released this year, but that's something certainly to keep an eye out for. They didn't have a name for that either. It's just they had prototype lettering on the back, which I thought was interesting, which suggests that they're still working on that. So I'm just going to move all this around so I can carry on showing what else we've got on here. So I've got a whole bunch of Raspberry Pi hats. Raspberry Pi have really launched an awful lot of hats this year. So let's start off with the most simple one. Just find if I've got a box for that one. Yes, in fact, I've got one that's not been opened yet. So this is the M.2 hat. This can drive a number of different products, but most commonly storage. I'll just grab this, take this out there. So again, we get a couple of little bags in there. I don't know why that requires its own bag. I'm a person that likes to minimise as much packaging as necessary, so I don't know why that, other than maybe to stop these from rusting, in effect, corrosing. So I think if they're sort of in a warehouse for a certain amount of time, you will get a kind of a tacking on happening there. So that's only going to get attacked by whatever oxygen is in that tiny little bag. So that's the extender that goes on top, similar to what's on that Raspberry Pi there. As you can see, there is, if I can just hide my face for a second, you can see that Raspberry Pi's got the extenders on, and that just helps the hats sit above, particularly on the Raspberry Pi 5, the active cooler fan. So then if I take this out of its little bag, oops, if that's really noisy, there we go. So that is the little M.2 hat from Raspberry Pi. This is their official one. Now you can get a lot of different hats from lots of different manufacturers. So Pimoroni were, I think, second to the market with their they have a hat that sits on top, and they also have a base that goes underneath. The base that goes underneath is actually really quite useful because it means that you're not using any of the GPIO pins or adding any extra height to the top of the board. But it does mean that it doesn't work with the official case. So a lot of these hats seem to come after the case had been released and didn't really work with that. So I was interested why they'd done that, why they hadn't produced their own case that works with all these extra Hat Plus, as they call it. So the Hat Plus is like a new standard over the original hat. And I think it's like hardware attached on top. Is that what HAT stands for? But yes. So with this, you'll need an NVMe drive of some kind. And that's one of the other things that Raspberry Pi launched this year, was their own NVMe drive. So I think I have one of those to hand as well. So that's the packaging that comes in. SSD kit, as they call it. And that one is the 256. They have a 256 and a 512, as I understand. They've just got those two models. And it's essentially a rebadged NVMe drive, but it's picked from a number of suppliers who can provide the quality that Raspberry Pi are looking for. One of the challenges with NVMe drives is not all of them are supported by all the hats. The other hat manufacturer, of course, I think I've got one down here, is Pine Boards. So Pine Boards, they were called Pineberry Pi when they gave me this one. So Pine Boards, who I met in Rome Maker Faire this year, a fantastic group of people, they were one of the first to markets with the NVMe hats. So they had the standard, they had the know-how to produce these, and they've come out with a whole bunch. There must be about 20 different products that they've now got out there. So it's really great to meet them and see kind of what they're up to. So what I'll be thinking in future, if I need any projects that are really going to push a Raspberry Pi and I want larger storage than typically you would get on an SD card, I probably would put one of these on the top and have that drive the Raspberry Pi storage. So I've actually got a number of these NVMe hats, so I'm not going to run out of them in any time soon. So in fact, here over here is another one. This is the one that was inside that box. I think I'd already unboxed it and was using it on a particular project. So you can see that it's the official Raspberry Pi M.2 hat, and it also has, if you can read that because the stickers seem to be on upside down, that's the 256 NVMe drive, and it's got the sticker, and that sticker should be in the orientation. Let's change that now because it's been bugging me all this time. Let's do it that way around. So the text wasn't aligned with the hat, that was why I was fussing about that. So yes, that could just pop onto your Raspberry Pi 5, and then you can use some really fast and usually quite large storage. So next up then I shall show you the, let's find, there's two products kind of in one here. So let's get those and then I'll show you what they look like. So this is the AI Hat Plus. So this one came out, was it just last month, and it can do a staggering 26 trillion operations per second. It's ridiculous how much processing power is on this tiny little board. I understand they're made in Israel actually by a company called Halo. You can just about see on the top there, powered by Halo. So this one has the chip on the actual hat itself. They did have an early version which was 13 tops, which was the same form factor as the NVMe drive and M.2, and you can plug that into the hat that we've just been looking at, the M.2 hat. And the other thing that was launched quite recently was the bumpers. So this is the Raspberry Pi bumper. It's a silicon bumper. It kind of reminds me of back in the day with Antenna Gate and Apple iPhones, and one of the things that they fixed, because they, if you remember that on the original iPhones, in fact I've got one there, they have like a little break on the edges of the cases. So if you can see on the edge of the phone, just there's like a little plastic mark, and then there's another one at the top there. And that's because different parts of the case are actually the antenna for the phone. And what would happen is, if you held the phone like a regular person would do, you could actually stop the antenna from working at full capacity and the number of signal bars would drop down. So Apple basically told everybody, you're all using your phones incorrectly. What you need to do instead, let's put that back, is have a bumper. So they solved this problem by putting a little silicon bumper around it, and that would just separate you from making contact with the antenna and essentially shorting the antenna out. So yes, we have the bumpers. So I've got one installed on this one here. I've been trying to clean this with a microfiber cloth just before, because I know that all the fibres that are on this are going to show on the camera just like that. And you don't tend to see these in real life, but when you put something on the camera you see everything. So that screws into place with 4 screws, you can see there. And it's designed so that you can easily get access to the SD card. The real reason for this is, if you look on the back of a typical Raspberry Pi, look at all those components and solder points and test points. If you put that on any kind of metal surface, you're not going to have a great time with that. So the bumper means that you can safely have your Raspberry Pi kind of exposed but safe from being put on any surfaces. So it's actually one of my favourite things that they brought out this year, even though it's quite subtle. It's even got some holes there for a bit of airflow through the device. Now this Raspberry Pi 5 I've got here has also got a hat on top. So this is the AI Hat Plus, and it can, as you can see, it says on there it can do 26 tops, so it's pretty fast. Not really pushed this to its limits yet. I think there's an awful lot we can do with this. I'm really looking forward to integrating this into some future projects. One of the projects I've seen quite recently, and I think it was featured on, was it Wired magazine very recently as well, is where some PhD students working in robotics have trained a camera and a robotic arm to clean up mess. So they can put a sponge on the worktop where the camera's looking at, put some kind of liquid spill, and then the robot can figure out where the sponge is, move the arm to pick it up, and then move and clean up the spill until the spill is no longer there. They've taught it to do all kinds of other things just using voice commands and large language models. So you could say, pick up the passport, and the robot would figure out what a passport looks like, look at the scene, and then move the arm and figure out how heavy that should be and how much weight, how much pressure to apply to the robotic arm. So I don't have a robotic arm good enough to do that yet, so that's probably another project I'll be looking at. In fact, way back in the scene over there, I think just behind that sort of blue thing there, that's my very simple robotic arm that I've been building with VM. So I'll be looking to continue working on that and building out that particular thing. So I'm just going to put a few things back here because very quickly I think I'm going to run out of space and not know what belongs where. So let's put that back in the case. Have you managed to buy any of these components yourself yet? Is there anything that you've got your eye on that you've not bought yet, or you want to see other people use? Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this live as well, definitely let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'll shove that in there. I made a mess of that, I think I already have. There we go. And did you manage to see the other video that I did today, which was the video just before this, which was the building the arcade for my dog? We'll have a look at the arcade in a minute or two as well. Let me just put these pieces in there, so that's going in there. I think they go in there with it. In there. Right. Okay, what should we look at next? So we looked at the hats, we've looked at that. So I've got a whole bunch of products from Pimoroni that I'll be definitely integrating in some of my projects. So they have a TinyFX starter kit, and they've also got a TinyFX W starter kit. It's not easy to see the logos on there. And essentially what these are is a tiny little processor. So this is the RP 2350, I believe. Just trying to find the bits and pieces. Here we go. This looks like the little bag. Oh, that's a battery box. That's the battery box for the project. And I'm trying to find the actual board itself. It's absolutely tiny. It's like postage stamp size. Let's get this out. So this is the TinyFX. I'm going to try and show you that to the main camera there. So you can see this has got a whole bunch of little connectors on there, and it's also got an audio, a speaker, and a Quest connector, Stemma QT quick connector. It also has a USB-C, and on the other side there is, what does that say on it? RGB, so it's got the light connectors as well. So this one in fact comes with a little speaker, so we can plug that in to get some nice audio out. That could be really useful for quite a few projects. And then there's a bunch of these. They are ridiculously thin LEDs. Let's have a look at some of these. So on the end of this cable, let's see if I can zoom in for you on that one. Look how tiny these cables are. There's like a single, like a NeoPixel in effect, RGB LED. And we can put these in our projects. And because they've got these connector cables on them, we can extend those as well. I'm just looking at all the different pieces you get in there. So you've got like a cable to program it with. That's a USB A to C. And there's a bunch more of these cables. That just says cool white, and they call them dots for TinyFX. Dots, you can just see there it says. And that's similar to the other ones I just showed you a second ago. So that is the unwireless version. Over there. And then we have the W variant of this as well. Let's open up this one too. So this looks exactly the same on the front, but on the back is something that's very rare, and that's an unreleased Raspberry Pi product. So that is the RM2, which is the Bluetooth and wireless module, which will probably wing its way onto the Pico 2 to make the Pico 2W. I don't know why that hasn't been released yet, and that Pimoroni have a whole bunch of them that they can put on there. But yeah, that does exist. That's the same chip, I understand, that's on the Raspberry Pi 02W. It's the wireless module. So the RM2 is Raspberry Pi module, I guess. And the kit contains the same kind of stuff as the other one. It's just got that wireless module that's in there. So I'm thinking that there's all kinds of Christmas projects that could be involved with to make things light up. The sound thing is something that really interests me. The fact that we can put in a really small space that we can put sound onto our projects. So you can see on there it lists kind of the things that you can do with this. So it says you've got a speaker, got the USB cable, You've got the LED dots, the RGB LED dots, and you've also got the AAA battery holder as well, so it can be entirely truly wireless. So that's the wireless kits. And we've got, you can buy them as a starter kit, or you can buy them sort of on their own. So that's their controller. I think that one is just the Tiny Effects, not the Tiny Effects W. Now when the Pico came out, the Pico 2, Pimoroni also launched their version of this, the Pimoroni Pico Plus 2. So this one has a whole bunch of extra things that add to the RP20 2350B microcontroller. So it's got 16 megabytes of flash memory, 8 megabytes of pseudo-static RAM, a USB-C connector, a reset button, a Quest connector, and some debug connectors. So there's a whole bunch of extra things that you wouldn't get on the Pico 2 that they've added to that. So it's like an ultra high spec, high quality, but the extra 8 megs of PS RAM means you've not got the 2 megs of RAM that you would normally have. You've got so much more extra RAM to play with there. Let's go for this one next. So this is the cool thing that I'm looking to put on one of my projects. It's an absolutely massive 2.8 inch screen, 320 by 240 pixel, and the idea of this is you can plug this into a Pico and have your Pico draw on that massive screen. So I've used these screens on a lot of my projects before, the smaller versions, the 2-inch versions. So this is the 2.8 inch version, so it's a pretty massive screen for a Pico. So that's what it looks like from the front. I flip that round there, you can see, turn it that way around so the writing looks correct. Come on, focus, there we go. So it's a Pico just connects in there, and yeah, you've got all kinds of extras on there. You've got a Spice connector and a Quest connector, and we obviously, when you put the Pico on, the Pico simply just slots into place there. So what's a Spice connector? Have you heard of one of those before? An SPC connector? I shall show you what a Spice connector is for. I can figure out where that goes. That's going to go back in there. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of graphics libraries that Pimoroni have written. The Pico graphics library. It really makes drawing graphics on a display like that very, very easy. So that Spice connector is for this product, which is, I think, one of the most novel products of the year, the Clipper 4G LTE kit. So this is a kit that you can plug into your microcontroller, such as a Pico, and let's get all the bits and bobs out of there. So we've got our Spice connector, we've got an antenna, and we have this little board. Let's have a look what this board does. There we go. So this is the Clipper. So this is going to be able. This means that we can have cellular connectivity on our microcontroller projects for a very affordable price. As you can see there, we've got the Spice connector. We've got a little place for the SD card, the SMS card. What do you call it? The cellular card that goes in there. I can't remember what they're called now. The card that goes in there that sort of tells your phone what network you're connected to. You can see there that's the Wi-Fi, and it's not Wi-Fi, the cellular chip. So the antenna means we can simply just screw that into place there, and we can have we can extend our range. Now we can do a lot more with that Clipper chip if we have different antennas. So Pimoroni also have a whole bunch of extra antenna sizes. I've got a whole bunch of, like, probably way more than I would actually need there of antennas. So you can see there, they've got sort of bendy variants. That looks like an old car phone one, back in the day when you used to have like a car phone antenna on the top of your car. But that means that we can get a lot more range from our Clipper chip. So what kind of things could we use that for? So if you have something where you want to remotely collect data and send that to, say, an MQTT broker, say like the Adafruit one or the Arduino cloud, you could do that using this little Clipper chip. So you can see on the back there what the pinouts look like. So we've got power key, we've got read and transmit. We have the, what's that say, net light. VDDIO, and it's a 3.7 to 6 volts to power it. So yeah, we can do all kinds of remote things. I'm thinking if you have like a, I don't know, an allotment, a greenhouse or something like that, and you want to send some data over the airwaves, over the internet, to collect that somewhere else, then this is the kit that's going to allow you to do that. And it's so small that it means that your project can be tiny as well. So I'm imagining this with a Pico, got a really tight form factor. So I've not built any projects that use that yet, but I definitely see that happening. That looks like a fun SIM card. Thank you for tech. Yes, so this reminded me of what that thing was called. So there's a whole bunch of other Pimoroni products that came out with the Pico 2350 chip, the RP2350. So this is the plasma. So this is for driving RGB LED strips. So you can simply plug them into these nice big terminal connectors there. You can use the WS2818 ones as well as the .101, are they called? 104, 101? There's basically two variants, 4-wire and 3-wire. This will be able to drive all of them. And it's also got the Spice connector on there, so you can make this work over the internet. You've got 3 little user buttons. You've got a USB connector and a Quest connector, so you can add even more things to that as well. And it's absolutely tiny, look at it. So you can see that the chip that's driving that is the Raspberry Pi 2350. So you get all that speed and goodness of that new chip. So I'll be definitely using that. One of the projects I built last year, which is just under there, you might be able to see that transparent thing. That's the RGB LED dog coat that I made for Archie, my Chihuahua. He's now featuring in quite a few of my videos. So we built him an LED dog coat, and we had to have the original plasma, which didn't have any kind of Wi-Fi connectivity to it, and we had a Pico W connected to that kind of with a bridge. So we can probably use something like this instead. So I've got quite a few of those. What else do we have? It's worth calling out. Like this. So when the RP2350 came out, it actually came out in 2 different sizes. There was a sort of B version, a big version, and there's the regular sized version. So the big version, Pimoroni put this onto a chip, a little ball grid array thing, so you can sit this onto another connector and you can get access to all those extra GPIO pins. So this bigger version has loads more GPIOs than the standard RP2350. So that means that we can do a lot more GPIO stuff. Not used that on any projects yet. And one of my favourite little boards from Pimoroni, just because of the size of it, is the tiny. So this is the tiny 2350. Let's see how tiny that is there. I'll flip that around there. So 2350. And yes, we have a little connector on the back there. Is that a Quest connector? And we've got 2 little buttons as well on there, so we can reset it and boot it and have one as a user button as well. Love these because of just how small they are. Of course, has the USB-C connector as well. But yeah, they come in different sizes of storage as well, so you can get from normal size to quite large size of storage on those too. So that's the Pimoroni ones. What else have we got on here? One thing I've not used in any of my projects yet, other than the Atari 2600, is this Compute Module 4. So this is a whole Raspberry Pi kind of on a board, but you need a board to plug this into. As you can see, that's the and it's essentially a Raspberry Pi 4 but on a Compute Module board. So it has these 2 sort of edge connectors that sort of slot into motherboard that can give it access to other things like GPIOs and video and whatnot. So not use that on any projects just yet. I have used the AI camera, which is this new camera module. Let me just put myself onto Do Not Disturb there, sorry. There we go. Yes, so I've used this one. You can just see behind me just there is a C3PO. So that's a little project that I created which showcases the camera and what it can do. So what I would like to do, and I've not finished the learning of that yet to be able to do, is to build my own AI model. So an object detection, classification and localization model, so you can find things like it can say that this is a Raspberry Pi, for example. So I've built up a library of, I think, 600 pictures of different single board computers, Arduinos and Picos and things like that, and I've then trained the model on to detect them. The next step, and this is the bit I haven't done yet, is to quantize that model and compress it so that it can run on the camera. And that means I will then be able to run that directly on the camera and have my own models. So that's something I'm really looking forward to working on that little C3PO, which is just there. To see Jeff's joined us as well. Orange shirt Jeff today. How's it going, Jeff? A whole bunch of other bits and pieces I've got here. I'll do this one first, actually. So this is the new Raspberry Pi USB 3 hub. So I was thinking about, what kind of thing is this useful for? I do have a Raspberry Pi 3 that just has one USB port, so this is quite useful for that. And it does have the extra USB-C connector on there if you want to sort of provide a bit more power. And you can connect in one of the standard Raspberry Pi USB-C power things for that as well, just to give yourself a little bit extra. I think they really created these just so that you've got the whole setup from Raspberry Pi. You've got the keyboard, the mouse, you've got the USB hub, you've got the screens now, so you'll be able to use your new screens, and when the other new screen comes out we'll be able to use that one too, and they'll have the entire thing from the sort of socket to the user. So I bought these from Pimoroni. These are arcade buttons. So these are very simple, like 2-wire. You can use like a spade connector, or you can just solder them straight. I bought a bunch of these because what I'm going to make next, if I go over here, in fact if I go over here, this one here, you can see I've got these 2 arcade machines that I built. I thought the next arcade I want to build is going to be, I think Big Rig Maker had made something very similar to this, but this is now my version of it. I'm going to make a dance mat for fingers, so it'll be a little finger dance mat, and the colours of that are these colours. So they're doing sort of that kind of orientation, and I'll be using the same code that I created for these. These actually have a Raspberry Pi Pico connected at the back, and it essentially thinks that this is a USB controller, a USB gamepad. So that's kind of used the same kind of technology, but with a dance mat. And I found a piece of software that can run on the Raspberry Pi that's called Pi Dance, and that can take the original Dance Dance Revolutions, Dance Dance Evolution music, and the gamepad, all the arrows that come down the screen. It can take all that kind of information and it can play it. So that's kind of where my head is at with that. So I'm looking forward to doing that very, very soon. So the next thing in my little box of goodies then is this Pimoroni Explorer kit. One of my favourite boards that I use all the time is the Pico Explorer. You can see I've got it set up doing some kind of project there. So this is the original Pico Explorer. You've got a little display there, you've got a little piezo speaker just there, you've got 2 of those breakout gardens, a nice little breadboard area, and also a slot for the Pico to go into just there. There's also a whole bunch of extra little pin things there, so you can drive motors and servos and things like that. So doing kind of experimentation, this is great for that. Now, we've now launched this extra Explorer kit. Let's open up this bag and have a look at this. And it's absolutely gorgeous. I saw these on the launch day for the Pico 2. So look at that artwork that's on there. So this is the Explorer, and it has the RP2350 built onto the board. So you can see there we've got these really nice soft touch buttons. They've got a really nice sort of motion to them. We've got a speaker on the back. We've got the great big, with all the extra GPIO stuff, RP2350. And you can see there we've got these crocodile clippable things on the side as well. So a bit like a microbit, we can connect things up to those, or even the banana plugs I believe as well will work with that. So yeah, we've got the servo headers there, which is nice, and we've also got those extra connectors for plugging things in there, as well as that nice little breadboard, and a great big screen. Look at the size of that. So yeah, can't wait to use this on to be my sort of test bed for all kind of projects going forward. So now there is a load of extra goodies in the kit as well with this. So we've got a whole bunch of LEDs. You can see those LED pack. We have a multi-sensor stick. You can see that multi-sensor stick. So that multi-sensor stick says it's a 3-in-1 super sensor suite for environmental lighting and movement sensing with a Quest connector for easy solderless connectivity. So that's going to be pretty cool to include on some projects too. We've also got some wheels in there as well, so we can make some kind of robot thing. So just put these down here. We also have some handy legs so that we can have this standing on our desk kind of upright. We got a whole bunch of DuPont cables as well. There's a USB cable to program it with. There's a bunch of servos. So some nice quality servos there as well. We've got a battery box. And we've got some of these nice little tactile switch buttons as well. And a whole bunch of button things that go on top of those tactile switch buttons too. See if there's anything else in there. There's a little Velcro pad so we can stick things to the board, and there's also, I think that's a potentiometer as well, so we can sense, we can turn a knob and get different readings from that. There's a whole bunch of these little peanut things as well. They're so tempting to eat, but I really wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, that's there's quite a lot of stuff there, isn't there, to be going on with. So that'll be something I'll be playing with around the Christmas break time, I suspect. So a couple of other things I've bought recently. So this was the display. I bought 3 of these displays in the past week. So these are the it's 800 by 480. I thought it was 450. 480 hyperpixel 4 display. So these are absolutely gorgeous displays for the Raspberry Pi, and that's what's driving those arcade machines at the moment. So that's what the hyperpixel 4 looks like on the back. Definitely worth having a few of these in. I always go for the non-touch versions, but they do a touch version as well. That'll work quite nicely with that new touch keyboard that's now available on all the Raspberry Pi OSs. Is there anything else I've missed off here? I think that is pretty much everything. So yeah, last couple of bits and pieces I've got. I bought a whole bunch of Arduino boards. I've not got enough Arduino boards, and I thought I might as well have a play with these. So these Arduino Every, Nano Every, so these are in the Nano form factor, and are essentially the same as the original Uno or Nano type chip. But they're quite a bit cheaper. So these are good for just a general everyday microcontroller. They won't run MicroPython, they're not powerful enough processor wise, but this one will. This is the ESP Nano, the Arduino Nano ESP32 board, so that one will run MicroPython. I've used that a few times on a few projects already, but I'll be looking to do that on some future projects too. I did also buy a whole bunch because they were so cheap. They were like 20p each or something, 20 cents, that kind of price. These joypads or joysticks, I think these go under the name KY023. So it's a 2-axis with as well as a clickable button there, and you can see the pinouts if I get that correct on camera. You might be able to see there. So you've got 5 volts in. Why is that not going to focus? Ground, 5 volts. And then you've got the VRX and VRY, and then the SW is this switch. So it's essentially 2 potentiometers, and they will give you a value between 0 and 65,535 2 bytes. So yeah, that's what I've used in the projects over here. So that's the joystick for that and the joystick for that. I did have to do some fancy code on that as well. That the dead center is not halfway between 0 and 65,000. It's like 55,000. So there's like all those values on the left hand side and then like hardly any on the right. but with a quick mapping function we can find that middle spot, and occasionally you'll get spikes where it reads that it's gone to one extreme. So I had to build a low pass filter as well to get rid of those kind of things, and that's all in the code for the Kev's Arcade. So if you want to find that, that's on my GitHub repository, and I'll also put links to that in the write-up as well. So yeah, I think that is pretty much everything I wanted to show you today from the mailbox. We did cover this one. I've not actually done this as a video yet, but this is a project. Is a product waiting to be reviewed, really. So this watcher from SenseCat from Seed Studio is a little creepily named device. Let's see if I can switch this on. I'm not sure if it's actually got any power in it, so maybe it's not going to come on. But yeah, this is essentially a little camera. Looks like one of those rabbit devices that came out a while ago. So there's a little scroll wheel that you can also push to click, and there's a round screen there as well as a little charging thing. It has got a battery inside it as well, and it's also got this little thing so you can sort of mount it to things. And the idea is it's the camera, you can speak to it, you can ask it questions of what, you can say, if you see a person with a red coat walking past with a dog, please send me an alert. And it's intelligent enough to take those instructions and do something with it, create an action. So yeah, that was something I may well put into a project in the future. I'm not sure yet. That just sounds really creepy, and the fact that it's called the Watcher as well, doubly so. But yeah, that's something that I got sent by Seed Studio to review a while back. Cool. There's a couple of other things I could show you, but I'll just go to the comments and see what people have been talking about on there. Let's see what we have. So just all the people saying hello. Let me just find. So Ford's getting a new phone. What model of phone is it, Ford, that you're getting? So, hey makers, hey Vince, how's it going? So, you're talking about the flavour of Pokemon, was that? So Adam got a bonus with Adam. I got a bonus with mine, but it went on the bills. Oh, that's not great, is it? Pink one, pink hand waving, pink waving. Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? Any benefit or improvements in the cost of living gets eaten up, doesn't it, these days? So are Pokemon even edible according to law? I mean, anything's edible once, I guess. So let's see what everybody else is talking about. Lots more people saying hello. Steamed in a Pokeball, of course. I'm sure there is some cooking instructions for Pokemon somewhere. There you go. Adam says all animals are edible if cooked in the correct manner. Let's see what else people are talking about. So Jeff says I have all the toys. I've got a lot of stuff. I would say stuff at the moment. They become toys when we can figure out how to play with them. Just thinking that's pretty hefty. That Halo hat with the bumper on the back. Just notice how heavy it was. I was picking it up there, moving it about. So Phil says the creature's alright. There's some really messed up law that leaked recently involving no idea what that is. Let's see if watching this takes my mind off the flu. I hope it does. Martin says the same thing. Somebody's been getting some goodies. So yeah, some of the goodies I got, I bought myself, like the Arduino pieces. I decided to just get a bit of stock of that. Do you find yourself buying a stock of things just in case you might need them? I don't like having to wait for things. So things like the Pico 2, when they came out, I got myself a bunch of them. So the Pico 2s. I'm pretty sure when the Pico 2W comes out, I'll be replacing all those with Picos, or just having those as well, maybe. So Ford says, don't come over to America to kick my butt, but there's law on ice. Okay, fair enough. Dirty says, I hope to never have to eat anything twice. Save the animals, eat the vegans. So Dale's had a very bad cough for 3 weeks due to contamination in your apartment. You don't have a great time, do you, in that apartment? So Adam's also getting over a bad cold there. So Forward hoping everyone gets better soon. So Vince says, sounds like viewers need cheering up. Absolutely. So Richard says, my son, when about 5, said he felt sorry for vegans, and when I asked him why this was, he said they've never tasted bacon. That Star Trek t-shirt though. So I got given this Star Trek t-shirt by a friend of mine. We went to, so my friend ran the Manchester Starfleet, which was like a fan club based in the Manchester region of the UK. And every year they would go to whatever the Star Trek convention was. So there was a destination London Star Trek kind of exhibition where they had all the 5 captains. So you had like Jean-Luc Picard was there, William Shatner was there as Kirk, Janeway. Who else do they have? The guy from Deep Space Nine, whose name I forget. Yeah, they had all the captains there, so that was pretty cool. So you could see them with your own eyeballs, but you'd have to pay about £40 to queue up for a couple of hours to get a signature, like an autograph. I've never really been into autographs myself. Don't really see the fascination with that. I do like people autographing their own kit, so I have a Raspberry Pi up there that I got Eben Upton to sign, and I forgot to take along an Arduino Uno with me to make a fair roam, because I could have got Massimo to sign that one. But anyway, other than that, I'm not really into celebrities, just people who've made actual things. Someone said, I wonder if 3 identical RPI AI kits set up the same, ask the same questions, would get the same answers. That's a good question. They should, if they're running the same models, I would have thought that they would give the same deterministic answer. But there is an element, usually there's, I think they call it temperature, where you can say how much creativity is involved, how much randomness is involved in selecting the answer. So maybe they would actually provide different answers. Yeah, be interesting to try that out, Adam. I think that's something we should try out. Phil says, anyway, I'm expecting Bill's that mail back. Vince says, face turquoise drinking coffee. I think that's because the software I'm using doesn't understand some of the emojis, so it just says what it thinks they are. So Deshipu says, I've got some vegan friends who make an exception for bacon. Fair enough. I don't know what that would be. Porkatarian or something. So Adam says, I brought the original WaveShare display instead of the RPI version, and the WaveShare had a high resolution. Yeah, so the resolution of the new touch display, I think some people are a bit disappointed by that, and particularly the fact that like the bezels are the same on the edge, that they're absolutely massive. But that's the form factor that these displays come in, so you know that's what you get if you buy one of those. Other displays are available. Phil says bacon and spam are delicious. I only eat animals that are vegetarian. I think that's true of myself. So it says I had the original but started delaminating. Is that right? That sounds not good. Spam in a can. So it says bacon sandwich with brown sauce, best way to go if you're not well. It's very true. So Ford says, anyway, I've got a bunch of goodies coming in the mail myself soon. Some workout DVDs, because this hoopy fruit's got to keep in shape to outrun the Vogons. And Dale says, I've got a big beef pot pie for breakfast. I can't eat meat in the first thing in the morning. It's got to be at least past 12 o'clock. I'm not a gremlin, but I just can't do that. So don't forget your towel, absolutely. It's 11:11 tomorrow, by the way. Cool. Bit sale on AliExpress. Awesome. It says, hope Kev peels that screen Techbone style. So what does he do with his screens? I think I've still got some, one of those. Shall I peel one off on screen now? So if I go to that one there. So this display here has a little, I can't even get to it. Let me just show you this if I can get to it. It's kind of leaning in, which is a bit fiddly to do. There we go. So my hand's in the way of the camera there. There we go. It's so satisfying to do that. It's one of those things that I love to do. I love it when you get like a brand new TV and you get to do that as well. That's just amazing. So I'll have to check out how Techmon does it. He's one of my favourite channels, actually. So Phil says, I've had 2 slices of leftover pizza for my breakfast. Pizza can taste nicer in the morning, as long as you've kept it in the fridge. I once took some this sausage rolls or something into work, and like, I nearly got a shock because we'd left them out for like more than 3 hours, and people were saying like, that's now toxic, you can't eat that. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard of that. I wouldn't do well in the wild. I think I would have died of food poisoning. So Dale said, is that the 7-inch display? So yes, we have the new touch display, which I've now put somewhere and I can't find where I put that. There it is. So we have the new touch display 2. So we had a quick look at that before. Just have a quick rewind of the video if you want to see that one as well. I'll get that one wired up and we can have a play with it at some point. So Tech Yes says, I've got my touch display 2 midweek. I'm currently making a carpooter as a Pi 5 attached. Very happy with the quality. Yeah, I know Jeff did the CarPlay video quite recently on that as well, so that's definitely worth checking out. Deshpoo doesn't even eat breakfast. I like a bit of cornflakes. I did work for Kellogg's for a while, got some very cheap cornflakes from them. But their crunchy nut is like delicious, but it's like really bad for you if you look at the ingredients. So, yep, sweet. Vin says, I had microwave S-bag bowl spaghetti bolognese. Is that for dinner? Nice. Richard says to Dale, yes, I think so. Dale says, bad design. Power should plug into the usual USB-C on the Pi. Yeah, a lot of people are complaining about like the is it bevel or bezel on the edges of it, as well as the resolution. But yeah, it is what it is. Take that up with a Raspberry Pi. Paul says, for the sake of my health and ability to function, especially my health in recent months, I have got my Spam eggs and cheese sandwich for breakfast. So Rich says, Dale, I've been thinking about, I think the screen powers from the Pi. That's correct. So there's a little cable that connects into the GPIO pin, whatever is the 5V on the ground, and then powers it from there. So Ford says, I've got to get my protein one way or another. That's very true. So Deshpoo says, I sleep until lunch. What? I just sleep until lunch. I don't think I'd get away with that. Ford says, I'm having a bacon and buldak for dinner. I don't even know what that is. Is that some kind of curry? I have my own special recipe for buldak noodles. Ah, right. It's noodle stuff. Vin says, I've got to get back to work tomorrow and look after my 15 support team members with flu. Great. Can you not like remotely work? Is that not a thing? Or just work from a different room? Do teams from there or something? What a load of crock vids. What? So Dale says, I'm going to try stacking 2 AI kits and an SSD with PoE onto my Pi 5. So you probably have to write your own... this chip can only be used, like one chip can only be used at a time, as I understand it. I'm not sure you could do multiple hats at the same time. You'd certainly have to write your own code that could make use of that, and the API for that is private, as I understand it, so that's going to be quite tricky to do. Because somebody asked me, could you use the camera AI and the AI hat in unison? But I don't believe that the Python libraries will let you do that. It's kind of one or the other. It's also how would it split the two things, because they're 2 tasks. They're not designed to sort of cooperate in that way, is my understanding anyway. Phil says, please make sure to wear a mask and pack some cold flu medicines. Remember to install antivirus software. Phil says, I'm sorry you have to be off work while you're sick. So Dale says, I've got the SSD power of it Ethernet hat this Tuesday. That's cool. And Vince says, I've been working from home, so that's okay. And it's okay. I feel really bad now. My boss won't mind me. Dale says, I have the PCIe switch hat, SSD, and AI kit. So you got any plans for what you're going to do with all those different things? Vince says, it's not that bad. I get to work from home. And if I feel really bad, my boss won't mind me taking a day off. As quite right as well, yeah. Richard says, the camera with built-in AI, can that AI be accessed separately, or does it take the video input directly? So I understand it takes the video input directly. The API for accessing the camera There's like this Sony IMX500 toolkit that you can use, but I think it's all quite tightly integrated in the silicon. You can essentially just upload a model in a very specific format. It can use that model, it can do the inference, it can send down the video feed as well as the things it's detected in that according to that model. But I don't think you can use it directly. Dale says, I'm using a 512 SSD for my Pi 5 boards. So the Pis that are behind me, just flickering away just there, they've all got 1 terabyte SSDs in them, and they're all using the Pimoroni base, the NVMe base. That works quite well. It's been working very reliably for quite a while now. Paul says, thank God we're all working from home. I work from home as well. This is my happy place where I work and play. So Vince says, I would definitely be off. I was working from the office. I wouldn't even think of working. Very true. So Ford says, anyway, I've got a sweet kitty cat with me. I was going to say on Amazon. Did they sell cats now? And an Amazon delivery driver taking their time to deliver my package. That's pretty cool. So Dale says, I think the AI camera works like a regular camera. It takes the video and processes it on board. That's correct. And the models have to be formatted using that, as I said, the IMX500 model compression toolkit from Sony. So Vince says, yeah, I once shorted a Raspberry Pi by accidentally putting something on the metal. Eek. Yeah, you really don't want to be doing that. And that's why those bumpers are a really good idea, because they sort of keep it protected from anything like that. So it says to Dale, shame because it's the CSI interface that was fast enough. They should be able to put all the AI directly on and free up that PCIe. Yes, I believe it does use the CSI port to transfer some data back with the video, and it's just like what index has it detected if it's like an object detection model. Smarty says, my wife always moans when I get a new screen. I've got loads already. You can never have enough screens. I mean, the number of screens in this room that I have is probably insane. I've only got 2 eyeballs. But yeah, I've got a great big Raspberry Pi screen just above my head there. I don't know if you can see that actually on there. Oh yeah, you can see there. I've got a Raspberry Pi screen just there. I've also got another one. In fact, can you see that one on there? You can't. The headphones are. Oh, you can just see it on the very edge there. There's another screen that's kind of just strapped to the IKEA board, the pin board, a pegboard even. And I use that one for connecting to Raspberry Pis and whatnot, and it's just nicely out of the way. So, which says back to Dale, yeah, I'm going to be, I'll be about direct access to AI, so you can communicate with it directly rather than just processing what the camera sees. So Goldfinger says, question, what's the benefits of using the SSD hat over the external SSD with a USB cable? So USB is like a lot slower than the SSD, or than the PCIe Express Generation 3. That can do like a serious amount of data transfer. USB is also a shared bus, so anything else, if you have a keyboard and mouse and a gamepad and all those other things, they're all sharing bandwidth on the controller. So the PCIe is designed to be ridiculously fast. The peripheral component interface express connection that's on the Raspberry Pi 5 is like pretty much unmatched. For the Raspberry Pi, there's like nothing faster than that. They don't tend to have things that share that bus. So you can get some hats that will have like an extra one you can piggyback off the back of that, but essentially you're halving your bandwidth. And for things like the AI, to get those 26 trillion operations per second, getting that transferred between your Pi and the board, it needs as much bandwidth as it can muster. So it's all to do with that shared bandwidth, really. I think in the Raspberry Pi 5 there's 2 USB controllers, and all the USB ports are kind of split between that. So you're only going to halve and quarter your bandwidth the more things that you sort of show on there. Yeah, definitely speed, as Vince says. So Dale says, you must have loads of you have to load the model to the camera before you use it. Correct, that's right. Richard says, I think USB is half the speed of PCIe, plus it's more stable than USB. There you go. So thanks, just wondered. I've cannibalized a few laptops, thinking of using their SSDs. I mean, for storage, it's probably fast enough. What is it you want to store on there? how quickly do you need access to that. For me, like the USB storage, I have got a Raspberry Pi 400. Again, I don't know if you can see that on here. This Raspberry Pi 400 I've got just underneath it. If I can just move that way, you can just see it poking out the back there. That has a USB SSD drive thing connected in there, and it's more than good enough for that Raspberry Pi 400. It boots from that drive and it stores everything on there. It means I've got like a nice big, it's like 40 or 60 gigabyte drive, I think, SSD drive, and yeah, that's more than enough for that particular Raspberry Pi 400. I think it has a couple of databases and things on there, but nothing that needs like a lot of speed. It's also much tiddlier. Tidier maybe, but tiddly as well. Cool. Dale agrees. Thanks for that. Dale says, I'm so tired because every time I lie down to sleep I start coughing and have to get back up. Is there a better position? Can you have like a halfway between lying and sleeping, or a different pillow perhaps? Maybe lie on your side? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. just bother about you there, Dale. Finn says, I don't need any more screens. Honest. I mean, it's not that you need the screens, is it? It's just that you have the screens. I mean, even my camera has like a little screen just above it so I can see it, but it just says running on NTSC. It doesn't actually have a picture or anything. Totally useless. So Dale says, I've got the Arduino Giga R1 and the display shield. Yeah, I need to get myself some of these, is it the Nicola Vision that Arduino have? They have like their own AI camera. So many toys for the Pi, absolutely. Nothing helps. Ben suggests whiskey. So yet another one says, sounds like for sounds using the DF player mini MP3 player module a number of times, slightly bigger than a TF card, easy to use. That's pretty cool. But you can't beat the, for size, the tiny effects. That's just ridiculous. That's the size of a stamp. It's so small. June connector. What's the June connector? Where did that come up? SIM card. Yes, thank you for that. I couldn't figure out what the thing was called. Did I call it the SD card? The SIM card. The SIM card. The SIM card. If you're enjoying the stream, a like is appreciated. It very much is appreciated. So we've currently got 19 likes and 20 or 30 people watching. So I'd like that number to be everyone that's watching. If you're not enjoying the stream, let me know why. Let me know what you'd like me to cover off there. So TechYes says they do a cheap SIM card on Pimroni. It has 100 meg of data. I think it's like $4 or $5 bucks to buy. It's not very expensive. So yeah, check that out. Jeff says mailbags always fun. Honestly, there's so much stuff. I've not covered half the stuff that I've got in this room that needs covering off. I've got a whole bunch of like robots. Grab one. That are waiting to be reviewed. I've just not got round to it yet. There's these kind of, I'm going to say knockoff Lego. It's very similar to Lego Technics, this particular robot. Yeah, I've not covered that one off yet. And then there's another one that's just over there from, I can't remember if it's Elect Freaks or somebody else who's done that one. But yeah, I need to cover off that as well. Somebody's saying hello to Jeff there as well. So TechYes says, Jeff, I printed out your touchscreen stand today. It fits like a glove. Absolutely, yes. I need to get myself those legs printed out as well for the display, touch display 2, until I can get my hands on a case similar to this old one. So Dale says, Jeff, have you tried putting 2 AI kits on a Pi 5? This is what I want to do. So Jeff did do a video where he plugged in a whole bunch of other accelerators in. So in theory, he had like, was it 50 odd tops? But they weren't working collectively on one model, as my understanding. They were all just sort of plugged in while Jeff enters the room. Hey Kev, quick question. Do you know if the RGB LEDs for tiny effects are like the NeoPixel dot stars? Do they have a common cathode anode? Do you know? I have absolutely no idea. I would have to check with Pimroni on that. I'm not sure which ones that they actually use. So not sure off the top of my head there. Jeff says, just came over with my was that Scatterbencher Pi 5 3.6 gigahertz overclocking video. Different vibes at Sunday fun. And Jeff also says there, I did a few accelerators. Software support is a little rough in that scenario. So that was my understanding as well. I think for the Halo, it's quite a private, it's not open source. So your mileage will vary with that, I guess. Hey Johnny, how's it going? So Johnny's saying hi to everyone. Nice surprise. What I come back to. Sorry fellas, my package finally arrived. Cool. RP2350 for days. So Dale says, figured out this would be the case. Most drivers would needed. I want 52 tops on a Pi 5. So Jeff managed to get 55 tops on his level 2 Jeff channel. Compute Module 4. So yeah, that tiny Compute Module 4, wherever I put that. I have got a board from the guy that runs, what's it called? Pi Locator, rpilocator.com. He makes all kinds of like circuit boards, and he made one for a camera. So it has a display connector and a camera connector, and you plug in the Compute Module 4 onto the back. So you make like a really, really small camera. And I thought, for the project I did, which I think is up there somewhere on the Pi camera, the PiCon camera, that would be perfect for that, because you wouldn't need this sort of bulky Raspberry Pi in there. You just have this like really, really small one that make a much smaller camera. The thing that would finish that particular project off would be to have a user interface on the back of the display. That's something I've not done that yet. Cool, so I've noticed we've not actually dropped the stream this time as well, so yay for dropping a restream. That didn't seem to help out, did it? So is it really Jeff or an AI bot? It's orange shirt Jeff today. That's fantastic. So how much of that was actually useful? So only 13 tops, is that? I worried it was red shirt Jeff. And says, well, hello Jeff. So Jeff's working on a new frigate setup. Awesome. Can't wait to see that. Sab's got an RPI AI question, but Jeff's got to run. I think he's got other stuff to look at, but a lot of fun having Jeff on the stream there for the chat. Lots of people saying goodbye to Jeff there. Adam says, if I had 3 RPI AI kits all set up tactically the same and they ask the same question, would they respond the same? I guess the only way we would know that is by testing that out. We could probably test that out. So I've got a bunch of Raspberry Pi 4s there and a bunch of Raspberry Pi 5s. They have all got Alarma installed, the same version of all Alarma models. We could try that out. We could try running on all 4 of them, ask it the same question and see what it comes back with. I know if you say tell me a joke, it's the same rubbish joke that comes back every time. So, but there is that temperature setting where you can say be more creative or be more concise and accurate. So you tend to get the same thing over and over. So it says, oh no, Dance Dance Revolution all over again. Yep, used to play it on the PSP. We made third-party dance mats for the original game and we had to test them. That's so cool. One thing I learned with DDR, my fingers are faster than my feet. There you go, this is why it'd be quite fun. Good looking kit, it'd be nice to see the wireless version. $60 for the Explore kit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll be wireless pretty soon. DDR, Dance Dance Revolution, I sometimes play Step Mania. Cool. So just putting my yoga blocks and straps away. Go ahead and laugh. They're purple. Should be pink. You guys are so random. Said hi when I arrived. Hi, Bo. There we go. Hey, Johnny. And they've got my purple. I've got them in purple to match my mat. Fair enough. I'm sure somebody told me that there's a chemical in yoga mats that's also in some other food. I can't remember what that food is now, but that's cool. That means your yoga mat's edible. If redshirt.jeff equals true, then hide. Cool. Ones and Zeros says, thanks, Kevin, very interesting. Pimoroni stuff looks cool. They make the coolest stuff, they really do. And the fact that they're just like an hour and a half away from where I live is just amazing. Those guys are so cool. Got to be a Motorola G Stylus 5G. Cool. So when is that arriving? Has that arrived already? So it says, I'd have thought of getting a Samsung Galaxy, but just love the Motorola too much. See, I can't not be outside of the Apple ecosystem. Just love it too much. My partner got to see Shatner at a convention recently. He can be a bit of a challenge. I understand it. I don't know if it's like his experience of just people, and he has to be like that because everybody wants a piece of him, I guess. But yeah, got to mention that I managed to get a buttload of PopCap games installed on my Linux. That's really cool. Let's see what else we got on here. Technical appears to protect your Steam off stuff. Playing seductive music, with him going, oh yeah. I love Tech Moan. I remember he did a video. What was the other guy? 8-bit guy. He does like all kinds of retro stuff. They did like a collaboration. I was just like, this. I'm so happy right now. My favourite people. I can't wait to see the collaboration video that Chris from Explaining Computers is doing with himself for his new channel. I think that's hilarious. So, Don5 says, hi Kevin, I've just got started with a Raspberry Pi 5 and Internet of Things. What do you recommend? Is there a comprehensive kit, and what basic book should I get? Oh, great question. I'm trying to think of who has probably got a good book on that. Do you know, I don't think there is a good book. There's plenty of stuff on kevsrobots.com you can check out for things like Node-RED. You'll definitely want to get into that if you're doing Internet of Things. And also Raspberry Pi and Arduino have some really good free courses on their websites as well about that. So yeah, definitely worth checking those out. So Adam is back to work on Tuesday, got a meeting with HR. That doesn't sound good. In the theory, mirrored RAID is not possible over USB, as USB can't handle writing to two devices at the same time. Is that so? I suppose it is serial, not parallel bus. PCI is a parallel interface. Najib says, I have little problem on communication protocol between the Pico and the magical Dobot. Is there any advice you can give? Read more, experiment more, put lots of print statements before and afterwards, try and figure out what it is. What's the nature of the communications problem? I don't know very much about that magical Dobot, so it'd be difficult for me to chip in on anything on that, I think. Try using the V-pillow. Oh yes, that's the cough. Nottingham Castle Mead is good if you're feeling very bad. Very sweet. Never heard of that. Smash that like button. Let's see how many likes we've got now. I've got 24. There's 34 people watching. 10 people have not hit that like button. How dare you? Blow up. Take the like button outside behind the shed and shoot it. Have you done Dobot Magic ARM project before? I don't think so. I will Google Dobot. I've not seen that before. It might have the same name, but I don't know anything about that just yet. I've got a fake Lego robot kit sat on the floor, still boxed since last Wednesday. There you go, and the subscribe button too, why not? So John Wilson says, read the Pimoroni SIM card. The one NCE card they supply only support data. I want to go from SMS for OTP handling. One NCE will only supply to business. Any ideas how to circumvent this? So why do you need anything other than data? You don't need like voice on there or text. You just need data. Data is going to be like really the most efficient way of sending data across. If you bundle it up as like a text message, there's all kind of extra stuff for that. That's not what their board does. it's my recommendation there. If you want a board that does that, try looking for a different board. There are other boards out there, but theirs is probably the best case for Raspberry Pi, Pico type stuff. So Tyth says, look like the RGB single channel per colour, common cathode, not NeoPixel dot stars, but you can take the S plus minus port with a quick connector for dot stars. Cool. Thanks Ford for the super chat, really do appreciate that. It's from the Diet Coke fun, thank you for that. I'll have a quick swig of that. Richard says, it's known technically as a dad joke. What was the dad? Did I miss a joke there? We will drink to Johnny Pink Pink Pink. Oh, okay. I didn't get that. Goldfinger says, a question. Have you come across any resources that remodeled the InMove STL to accept cheaper servo motors? No, it's really hard to do that. You can do that in Fusion 360. You can take an STL file and you can run like a filter over it, and it will convert the triangles back to like a plane surface, and then you in theory can edit that. In reality is it doesn't work. It's very, very difficult to do. Which parts of the InMove are you looking to change? I built an InMove, certainly the torso and two arms, but there were some bits that meant I didn't get the full thing working. I didn't get any of the I was like really scared of the mechanical side because it's so much printing and it takes so long to do. The idea of putting these on and then it just falls off, I was like horrified of that doing it. So yes, and one person once said to me, it's worth saving up and buying the quality ones rather than trying to use the cheap ones, because the cheap ones will just burn out eventually. So it is worth buying the higher quality ones, even if that takes you longer to do. Just buy a normal sim. So it won't work, as I understand it, Richard. I think it has to be, they partner with a particular provider on the clipper. So if you put a different SIM card in, it simply just won't register it. That's my understanding. I might be wrong on that, but that's my understanding. Did you Perifractic made? Or did you see Perifractic made a video a few weeks back on the new Commodore 64, and he was crying? Why was he crying? I do watch. Is it Retro Bites or something they're called? Retro Recipes. I like their dog. I like their Blue Peter style couch that they have. It's very, very cool. And his PCBWay adverts are just the best. So what's that John says there? Normal Sims need chargeable calls every 90 days. One NC every 180 days. I've not registered mine yet. I need to crack on and do that, I think, before it becomes not usable. So it says, I cannot fix my bamboo printer. That's not great. I've got a broken 3D printer over there. Excuse me, my Creality one. I've no idea. I've changed everything in it. So in theory it should work. The only thing is I've not changed the cables. I've changed the motherboard. I've changed the stepper motors. I've changed like every aspect of it. The X-axis just doesn't move. And I don't understand why that would be. So SMS text for one-time passwords. Yeah, I don't think it'll work for that use case if it has to be text messages. You could probably write a you can buy text message credits and do it through like a fast API on Python. You could probably do that instead. Yeah, I don't think it's probably a project for a Pico. Dale says that would not help. There's contamination in my apartment causing my cough. Is coughing myself now in sympathy. Is there anything you can do like environmental health people? I don't know what you call it in the US, but is there nobody you can call for that? That doesn't sound like that's right. Adam says sitting upright takes the pressure off the chest. Yeah, another one says Epsilon 1P mobile is good for SIM card. Cheapest I've found. Use it hours for the electric gate for SMS. 1P mobile UK good SIM card. Cheapest I've found. Use it in our electric gate for SMS. Dale says that's what I have to do. I cannot lie down because I cough when I do. Yeah, that's not great. It's not what you want, is it at all? Just shove that bag now. I've got like bags open and I don't know what belongs to what bag now, so that's great. I've just got so much stuff lying around here. But that's so much fun. I just wanted to share that with you. I thought I've not done a mailbox video for a while, and I had done that other video that I pre-recorded about the build that basically took all weekend to do. So I was looking for an easier show to do, and I thought this would be quite fun. And we had Jeff in the room as well. How cool was that? It's always good to see to Jeff. So Adam said, yeah. So John says incoming text validation calls via SMS. A lot of virtual mobile services will not pass on the SMS text, which has the phrase "your verification code is." Interesting. So yeah, I worked with some software suppliers. They wrote it was like a conveyancing application, a portal where you could go in if you were selling your house or buying a house or anything to do with house moving, and they had a portal that would help validate with SMS, and they had a third-party company that plugged into their back end, and that sounds so wrong, that plugged into their servers, and they basically just bought text credits off that to send them out. So Ty says in Onshape, import STL, create plane against the STL, and then sketch on the plane, and use the STL for geometry reference to create something to extrude body, or import the servo to then boolean STL. Definitely worth that. Clipperboard will work with other S cards. Is that so? I didn't know that. Obviously, I'm going to be a pro Pimroni as soon as they develop the board, and I would go and say recommend that you buy their sims and use their credits because they've gone to the effort of developing this board for specific uses. So if you want to do something else, do that with another board is my recommendation there. Not biased, honest. Cool. That's everything I've got for you guys today. I really enjoyed today's show. I really enjoyed putting these arcade machines together. I'll just show them once again over here. These are just my favourite thing I built so far. I've got both of them running Sonic the Hedgehog. Oops, I pressed the wrong button, then it's just dropped back out to RetroPie. I love how you can just use these buttons to control it. That little screen there will go off after a couple of seconds, and we can then use the joypad. So I think one of these is the sort of start button. If I press that at the right time, it should, there we go. And it's now starting the game, and I can now move Sonic around without any kind of lag. If you remember last time when I showed you this, it would sort of keep going to the left, but now it works fine. It's got the little jump buttons there you can just see. I'm not very good at Sonic, but you get the idea. There we go. And then to exit out, you just press both the buttons at the same time, and that'll take you back to RetroPie. So you don't need any keyboard or anything plugged in. And we've got this little menu you can just move around, which is pretty cool. So yeah, absolutely loved it. Thanks for watching. I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.